Old art. We all have it, and what's happening? Alright, everything seems to be okay. Hopefully we won't have any more problems. Sorry about that. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, old art. We all have it. I've always seen old art like a time capsule. It can capture an artist's memories, interests, past fandoms. So today, I would like to show you my old art through my old characters, or OCs. I'll also be redrawing them as almost like a gift for younger me, and I'll be ranking them in the tier list, for fun, no other reason. I'm specifically gonna be ranking the stories, not every individual character, though I will talk about them, just because there are so many. There are 27 old OCs, meaning I drew over 27 characters for this video. No, you did not mishear me. But with that out of the way, let's get on to the fun part. So let's start off with the very first character I've ever made. Like many first OCs, she was a self-insert. She didn't look anything like me, but her design was self-indulgent with the bird wings and Pokemon t-shirt and these teal bangs that make no sense, which are iconic to her design and I can never get rid of them. She was such a self-insert that she had my name. Later down the line, I renamed her to Ava. I would doodle Ava in middle school and would create other characters for her to interact with, until they inevitably became characters as well. After school, I would go home and draw animation memes on my Wacom Intuos and a Windows 10 computer that I still have to this day. By the way, all my old animations are unlisted in a playlist. I'll link it below. A character that would show up in these animations is Liam, the stoic level-headed one who prefers to keep to himself. He used to have this green hair and then I changed it to purple. He could summon and control this red energy that he could turn into spikes, and a sword and shield. Frisk from Glitchtale, never heard of them. Another OC that would show up is Leia, the intelligent, sardonic but kind one. She had plant magic and would carry around seeds that she could grow instantaneously, which is a power concept I do still like. She is also the cousin of Liam. Remember this. But back on my old animations, you can tell I had no concrete story for these characters. I wanted to have a story. I had fragments and ideas, but nothing concrete. That was until, picture this, you're sitting in your English class, bored after reading, I think The Wish, which was a pretty good book, but still boring. The teacher announces the next assignment will be writing a fictional story. Everything is completely up to you as long as you can pass 3,000 words. Big mistake. You're super pumped to be doing something not boring. And in less than 2 weeks, you have written 18 pages and almost 7,000 words. That is what happened to me, and I created a story where there previously wasn't one. Now I know what you must be wondering. Koi, do you still have this document? And yes, I do. I read it, and it's about the quality you'd expect from a 13-year-old who has never written anything before. I'm gonna go and give a brief synopsis for time. The story follows Liam, the orphan son of a king and queen. A week before he takes the throne, he is almost assassinated by his evil aunt, who wants to keep the throne for herself. Liam flees to a town in his kingdom. While undercover, he goes to a school and meets the other characters. After he turned 18, he goes back to reclaim his throne and restore his balance. What's really funny is the core premise of the story kind of resembles Paladin. Both stories revolve around a prince. Right before gaining a greater power, they are thrust into an unfamiliar world and learn new things about themselves and then come back changed. This was completely coincidental and I'm not sure how to feel about it. I may have subconsciously rewritten the story because it's kind of lackluster and I wanted to try again. There was a lot of stuff missing in Liam's story, like stakes and other characters that are kind of just sidelined for Liam. And really only one character gets development and it's not Liam, but it has potential. Remember when I said Leia was Liam's cousin? Yeah, she's the daughter of the evil queen who tried to assassinate Liam, and she just happens to be at the school he's hiding out at. What happened? Like, knowing how I would write Liam now, he would not let that go. It's addressed once and then never talked about again. This plotline is just begging to be fleshed out. Another element that has potential is Liam's sister Aurora, the girl on the top left. She thinks everyone blames her for her mother's death after childbirth. When Liam leaves, she is manipulated by the evil queen to think that Liam left her because she hates her too. And Aurora becomes the queen's puppet. When Liam returns, he just kind of talks her down pretty easily. Aurora really feels like my character Cass to me. And a lot of these story elements are really similar, so I don't think I would pursue this story. I actually do have a pretty solid idea for these characters, including old characters I cut. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know. Overall, these characters hold a very special place in my heart, and I actually have a written story for them, so I'm gonna have to put them in A. Here's the finished piece. I do like the composition that I went with, and there was more I could do, but I'm happy with how it is. Second, we have, actually, we're gonna come back to these later. Okay, these will work for now. You need to listen very carefully, because the next couple of stories I'm gonna share with you have been strictly classified, and I am the only one that has ever known about them. The reason I never shared these was because 1, they were underdeveloped and I lost interest, and 2, the only place I would post was animation memes on YouTube, and I never got around to making any. Honestly, knowing the internet, it might have been for the better. You don't have to post everything you've made online. The second story we are gonna cover is my Reaper universe. The story revolves around a Reaper who tries to escape her duties, but accidentally fuses her soul with a girl who was supposed to die, and now they are both on the run from death. Though I do like the premise, I have to say a lot of these elements were heavily inspired by Pet Peeves' 12 Reapers. We have the general concepts of deceased characters becoming Reapers, and the Reapers having animal skull masks. Even the premise is kinda similar, with an individual being stuck with a Reaper after death, and it never occurred to me in middle school how similar it was. I feel like if I were to develop the Reapers today, I could make it something more unique. The lineup of characters we have is the aforementioned Reaper and girl. I think the Reaper was around 16 and the girl was around 8. I just like the age gap in this possession plotline, so if I were to revamp this series, I think I would age them up to be 17 and 16 respectively. We also have her Reaper team who was sent to capture her. I looked up animals that represented death, and I added a owl, cat, raven, and whatever this guy was gonna be. The main girl was a bat. I also have a couple higher ranked individuals who took on the animals of moth and butterfly. I don't know, I think the designs are pretty cool, but they're definitely inspired by Bright Goat's High Enough thumbnail. I bet you can't tell where Little Me got my inspirations from. The girl had a terminal illness and the Reaper died at a very young age. So this story would have tackled some themes of death at young ages. Definitely some interesting stuff that could be built on here. Overall, I'd give this like a C, it's okay. To be honest, this was the last piece I did for this video, and I didn't want to burn out because I have other art projects I want to work on. I went with a simpler composition and no shading for this one. It's okay, it's eh. Alright, the next story. I worked on it for a couple of weeks and never touched it again. Think of this section as a short refresher before we dive into the insanity of some of my other OCs. The story was a college spy comedy, where a spy has to infiltrate a secret organization hiding in a college. He is pretty bad at socializing and immediately gets intercepted by spies from rival spy organizations, and hijinks ensues. Not much of this story makes sense, which is probably why I dropped it. I had no idea how colleges or spies worked. I kinda just wish I made stuff up so there was more to talk about, but that's all I got. What you see is what you get with these designs. From the art files, these characters are named Jaden, Andy, Eliza, and Aaron. I mostly chose this story because I wanted to redraw this unfinished piece. It was fun, definitely an ego boost. But back on the story, I knew I had stuff for these characters I never wrote down. So hot tip, if you have a story idea, just write it down. It never hurts and it could save you a lot of frustration down the line. I'll give this one a D for don't do what I did. Here's the finished piece. The shading tickles me. Alright, I think we're about to wrap up and don't look at me like that. Fine, we can talk about those characters. So, remember when I said old art could reflect past fandoms? Yeah, let's talk about that. So, can you guess what fandom a 14-year-old artist would be into? Yeah, that's right, the very family-friendly, age-appropriate Dangonronpa. I should not have been into this series at my age, and I'm sure I was not the only one. It's the classic case of the internet exposing stuff young people should not be looking at. The worst thing about this phase, though, was I would join Dangonronpa fan servers and ask if they wanted help with sprites. It's so embarrassing to think of now. I beg you, do not talk to strangers on Discord until you're like 16. I remember being really inspired by other fan games and wanting to write my own Dangonronpa fan series. So I created these lovely Monokuma clones. There is this cat, peacock and deer thing. It confuses me now because Monokuma was always a bear. Other versions of Monokuma were never other species of animals. And I wanted this to be a non-canon continuation of the series, so why did I break this rule? Going on to the next character. Fans of Dangonronpa might be able to recognize her. Yup, this is Monica, the main villain of the spin-off game called Ultra Despair Girls. I think she was gonna be one of the students and I was gonna have this huge plot twist that she was like this villain all along. But it's like so obviously her. Anyone who has played Dangonronpa is going to know what the twist is. Poor writing aside, I created several more students for this story. One of the students was named Narina, and she just reads as an Anji Yonaga ripoff to me. Honestly, I don't have much on her, so we're just gonna move on. Overall, this Dangonronpa fanverse failed for me, so that's an F. But this phase of art did spawn one very important character to the core cinematic universe. Yup, that's right, that entire section was a segue to the main universe of this video. These characters have been through many phases, so I'm gonna split them up into 3 main stories. The aforementioned student was the ultimate hunter, who I named Alex. And she has made a few appearances on this channel. This is the first piece of her and I cherish it greatly. Second, we have Cade, who wasn't a direct member of the fanverse, but Cade was a blatant Azuru Kamakura clone, with a bit of Winter Soldier sprinkled in there. Azuru's long hair was the main reason why Cade had long hair, and it's become such a staple of his character, he still has it to this day. His original design has the classic edgy OC eyes that I adore. Another notable character is Nikolai, a Catra clone, because of course, I saw a freckled cat person character and I wanted that. And fun fact, the original name in his first piece of art was Kit Kat, so sorry about that, bud. They all became a part of this story called Prime, and it was about a group of people competing to be able to gain the ultimate gift, a hand-selected gift that each of them desperately needed. A character I created just for this universe, then promptly dropped, was Aiko. She gives off Monica vibes. She was the ringleader of this operation, selectively choosing each gift and participant, almost like she was somehow a part of how they ended up in the way that they are. I was really proud of coming up with the gift idea. So a Puss in Boots, Prime did it first. Again, a lot of potential that didn't go anywhere. Good premise. I had a lot of good memories with these characters. I'll give them a solid B. And here's the Prime piece. It was quite a journey revisiting these characters. For the next phase of these OCs, I wanted to take them in a vastly different direction. I wanted cyberpunk dystopia superheroes, and Nikolai was the main character. Nick went full pink and I kept the cat in their superhero design. And also Liam was one of the antagonists. I'll shove past OCs in future projects and see if they stick. This one did not. For New Year's, I animated the Sriracha meme to Pink Nick. And when I say this is still peak, this meme just oozes personality and I love it. Like, if you're curious, you can go watch it in that aforementioned playlist. Rewatching this meme made me motivated to create, but not necessarily work on this project. I wanted to capture the amount of love and personality I was able to put in these 30 seconds into my other projects. I think I like this face just for the Sriracha meme. If this was a ranking old videos tier list, it would be an S. But because the phase was shorter, I'll give it a C. I know I sound like a broken record, but this story didn't go far, and there is potential. I think the problem was there was no real goal they needed to achieve, or big bad, just vibes. I did a smaller piece for this one. I mean, I say it's small, but there's still 4 characters, so I hope you guys are enjoying these speed paints. And now we have reached the end of these characters' development. I think this was around 2023. They're currently just chilling in their own modern day college universe. I've decided for now that they don't need a big story or active plot. I can just have fun occasionally drawing them. Maybe I'll try writing their stories later down the line, but for now I'm just happy where they're at. The current universe name is Jaded, and I'm gonna place it in a solid A. I realized the main reason I drop a lot of these universes was because in my head they need to be some perfectly fleshed out story, and looking back on it now, I was putting way too much pressure on myself. I would come up with these premises and be unsure of how to build on them, and eventually drop them. You should allow yourself to have flawed, imperfect characters and stories. Take it from me, perfection will get you nowhere. I know it's a little depressing to hear about all these stories I dropped, but I do have some good news. I'm actively working on 2 stories. One is Paladins, which I mentioned earlier. It's a pretty big story and the universe has a lot of stuff in it and it's still in development. I'm currently scripting a short comic between 2 of the characters, so look out for that. The second one I'm working on is Wipeout, and it's finished. You can read the comic right now for free in the description, or learn about it more in the video where I talk about making comics. Wipeout is basically what if technology allowed celebrities to become superheroes, and follows the lives of college students. The main character is my baby boy Kai, who has no impulse control and self-inflicts his own trauma. It's a lot smaller scope than my other stories, with it only focusing on 3 characters. Who knew you were more likely to finish smaller projects? Not me! I'm super proud of the work I was able to put into Paladins and Wipeout. And you know, I joke and make fun of past me for their writing and art decisions. But honestly, I wouldn't be where I am today without making every single quote-unquote bad art piece or writing decision. And this is far from the end of my art and writing journey. One day I want to be able to tell these huge stories, whether it be through animation and comics, and I'm gonna keep working on my craft. With that being said, do you have any old characters? How would you rank them? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, Koi out.